wanted to give you an update of an awesome experience that I've had recently. This is a place that I've dreamed about for a really long time. Growing up as a kid, I was really into martial arts and I idolized some people that you might know. If you have a look at the photo, this is my class and I at the Shaolin Temple entrance. Now don't ask me why I've got my leg up like that. I have no idea. I should really pay attention to what other people are doing in a group photo situation. I really should have done this, but that's okay, photo's done. Anyway, hearing about the history of the place is quite impressive. It was established in 495 AD, so there's more than 1500 years worth of history. And between that time and now, the temple has been destroyed or burnt down, but it's been repaired or restored, and currently it's pretty much restored to the original condition, which I think is amazing because it gives you a feel of what it might have been like at the temple back in the day. I have to say it's not exactly what I was expecting, but I'll get into that in a minute. One of the things that might have taken the shine out of the experience was the sheer amount of people there. Now, in a country of 1.4 billion people in China, there's a lot of people that want to go to the Shaolin Temple domestically. On top of that, you might have some people that grew up watching Kungfu films from overseas, so you have the overseas tourists coming in. On average, they say more than 1 million tourists come and visit the Shaolin Temple every year. On the day that I went, it felt like there were 1 million people there. There were that many people. Let me show you some more photos. There's this photo of the entrance that you saw me before. Now you can see there's quite a lot of people here. If I move on, this is called the Mountain Gate and is effectively the entrance to the Shaolin Temple, where people are actually having to line up. They're bottlenecked into this one section. Look how many people there are. There are a lot of people here. But these are one of the things that you can't control. So people aside, being inside the Shaolin Temple was quite a nice experience. You have a look around and you get to see things like temples and halls and pagodas, and it's quite nice. It's quite a peaceful environment as well. It's at the foot of a mountain. It is effectively a temple within a forest region. There are also temples here that house Buddhas, which are hundreds of years old, and there's also some interesting things outside of the Shaolin Temple itself. Right next to it, there's this place they call the Pagoda Forest. Now this place is really impressive. You get to see all of these pagodas of various shapes, various heights, various sizes, and apparently the resting place of a lot of Buddhist dignitaries that have been at the Shaolin Temple. The appearance of their pagoda is dependent on a whole bunch of factors like their Buddhist status or their achievements throughout their lifetime. Now I should say, as we were going to the Shaolin Temple, we were driving in a bus, and there's a big statue of a monk, a Shaolin monk, and that got me really excited. This is probably the most exciting part about being in the Shaolin Temple. You get to see the monks. One of the most famous Shaolin monks that you might know of is an amateur fighter by the name of Yilong. Now, technically, I don't think it's been confirmed that he's been at the Shaolin Temple, but he does look like your stereotypical monk. He has the shaved head, he has the Shaolin Temple gear, and this is the quintessential image I have of a monk. By the way, if you haven't seen one of Yilong's fights, you need to get onto it. This guy is renowned for having an iron chin and an iron shirt. And how he manages this is by the art of Qi Gong, which is basically harnessing your life energy. And a lot of practitioners, what they're able to do is harness this energy, this Qi, and concentrate it into one area. And in Yilong's case, he's concentrating it on his chin and on his torso. So he's able to sustain a lot of damage from other fighters when he's actually fighting. If you're apprehensive of how this actually works, have a look at this clip.
It's went out for a second, and he just waits and says, "Give me your best shot," and he has plenty of them. And still he comes forward, unbelievable.
And after taking punch after punch after punch, he goes back on the offensive. And some say it might actually be a strategy. One of the strategies are that they sit back and they take as much damage as they can in the hope that their opponent is going to get tired, and eventually they're going to be a lot easier to defeat in the later rounds. Either way, it's pretty darn impressive, and this was some of the things that I was expecting to see at the Shaolin Temple. At the time that we got there was a time that they were going to start a new show soon. So the idea was that we didn't really want to waste too much time. Once we got there, we wanted to get to that hall as quickly as we could. As part of the show, they do have an audience participation aspect, where if you wanted to participate, you should probably aim to sit right up the front, because that way it's easy to get selected and that way you can get on stage. And being a huge Kung Fu fan, that is something that I definitely wanted to do and tick off my bucket list. Being on stage at the Shaolin Temple with a Shaolin monk. Okay, as we're walking to the performance hall, we see this giant concreted area. And apparently it's a martial arts academy that's affiliated with the Shaolin Temple. And like I was saying before, the quintessential image of a Shaolin monk, which is students with their shaved heads, with their Shaolin outfit, was completely not what I had in my mind. Here were a whole bunch of students training in this giant performance area, and they were just wearing normal tracksuits. They were wearing red t-shirts, they were wearing black tracksuit pants, and most of them had hair. Another thing that I noticed was this plaque, and this plaque is interesting because if you have a look, there's a Chinese translation and English translation down the bottom, and that Chinese part is very small. This is representative of a lot of things. I should try to word this very carefully. Another thing that I noticed was this plaque. Now, if you have a look at it, it's interesting because there is a little bit of Chinese and there's a lot of English. It kind of makes me think that they've really gone to a lot of trouble to try to express what the Chinese says in English. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Lost in Translation where Bill Murray goes to Japan to shoot the $1 million Suntory whiskey commercial. And in that scene, he's getting directed by a Japanese director who tells him all of these instructions in Japanese for 2 minutes. And then the translator comes and explains to Bill Murray, he just said, turn to the camera. And Bill Murray says,
is that everything? I mean, it seemed like he said quite a bit more than that.
Actually, no, it's the opposite of that. There's a little bit of Chinese and there's a lot of English. Anyway, forget it. Forget it. I might just cut that part out. I haven't actually read this properly, so I'm going to try to have a look at what this says. So the top part says Jiao Xun, which means motto. And in the English translation we have motto of the Shaolin Temple Educational Undertakings Group. Yeah, that's very detailed. Back to the Chinese, we've got 认真学, which is study hard. In English it says be a devout learner. It's a nice way of saying it. 刻苦练, which means train hard. And here we've got an undaunted practitioner. Okay, it's a very eloquent way of saying it. 无自门派, which is don't hold on to a doctrine. Stay away from the factional or sectarian bigotry in matters related to Kung Fu. Okay. 系贵一宗. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Anyway, it seems as though the English translation is done by a very well-versed Englishman or someone that's been studying literature, because that is quite an eloquent translation. Anyway, moving right along. We made our way for this performance hall, and like I was saying before, there was a massive queue of people. It was going to take quite a lot of time to get in, and I was getting a bit nervous because I really wanted to go up for that audience participation part. Anyway, we finally get into the performance hall, and virtually every single seat is taken. And not only that, but even the stairwells are lined with people just waiting to see this show. So then we thought, if other people are doing that, we may as well give it a go too. So we walked right up to the front and sat down on the stairs. And in Australia, we'd never get away with that. We would be ushered away saying, no, sorry, this is occupational health and safety. Not here, thank God for that. So then the lights went off, the stage lights went on, and I was getting really excited here. I was really looking forward to seeing this show. And then the monks come out, and they're kids and teenagers, and I was thinking, where are all the adults? Anyway, They start performing and I'm instantly sold. These kids are really agile. They're doing fly kicks, they're kicking up past their ear, they're doing the splits, they're just doing some really impressive stuff. Stuff that I would be impressed with if I could do it. And for them to do it at their age is pretty awesome. After their Kung Fu performance, the show moves on. They have one of the guys, he has a steel nail and a pane of glass. And the idea is that he was going to throw this steel nail through the glass and pop a balloon on the other side. Have a look. Listen to the sound that that nail made against the glass. Just goes to show it's genuine glass and it's a genuine nail. But then he tries again and have a look at what happens. And then it starts to get a little bit more serious with the Qi Gong exercises. It starts off with a guy channeling Qi into his neck and holding a spear and bending the spear against it. After that it moves on to a guy that channels his Qi into his belly and he places all of his body weight onto the spear and another guy helps him spin around it. It really gives some credibility to Qi Gong. Being able to see this is just crazy. These are human beings who are able to achieve these physical feats that you just, I can't imagine how else it's possible. Otherwise they're magicians. Then the next guy comes out and he has this solid iron bar and whoa! That looked like it would have hurt. Don't try that at home, kids, unless you're a professional under controlled conditions or a monk at the Shaolin Temple. Actually, just don't try it at all. And then we get to the audience participation. Now this was the part that I was really looking forward to. When they made the call, I got up and there weren't that many other people that were interested. Finally, there was another guy that got up, and also one of my classmates who's a Kung Fu practitioner. He's been training in Kung Fu for years and he's also a Kung Fu instructor, so he got up as well. So the three of us were on stage. We had no idea what they were going to do. The idea was that we were going to participate in this competition to imitate these Shaolin monks performing a certain form. Now these forms were based on a specific type of animal. Now, back in the day, a certain type of Kung Fu was developed to mimic the movements and mannerisms of animals. They would integrate that with Kung Fu and use that quite successfully into a fighting style.
I know that your snake style is terrific, but my monkey technique can kill snakes. Hey! Ha!
It started off as 5 main forms. There was the tiger, the leopard, the snake, the dragon, and the crane. And from the foundation of those 5 forms, it's branched out into a lot of different animals. And 3 of the animals that we were going to perform were the and this video is getting quite long, so I'll make another video for it. In hindsight, we made a massive fool of ourselves, but it was a really fun competition and I'm really glad I did it. One of the regrets that I did have was that we didn't have enough time. Even though we spent about 2 hours there or so, there were areas that I didn't get to see. Part of the Shaolin Temple, there's also the dining halls, the dorms, the training grounds of where the Shaolin monks actually train. Didn't get to see all that. I also heard there were trees that are dotted with all of these holes. And apparently it's from the Shaolin monks training with their finger punches. They're just using their fingers and punching this tree over and over and over. And over the course of a few years, these holes have developed on the tree. So, I don't know, little things like that. It would have been nice to have seen. Would I go back again? Probably not, mainly because there's a whole lot of other places that I want to see. And also, we came as part of a school trip, so we were all in a coach. You could probably catch a cab there. Cabs are pretty cheap in China, but other than that, I'm not too sure logistically if it's actually easy to get to. Either way, it was a really great experience and I'd highly recommend it if you've never been. Sorry for rambling on today, but if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks so much for watching. Please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for the next installment, which is going to be the down low of this competition at the Shaolin Temple. Thanks again for watching and see you soon. 再见。
好，两腿一定要尽量分开，膝盖的内侧着地。